Howdy, howdy, everyone. Chris here, and on this episode of Garage Noise, I'm going to share with you the easy way to paint your cab corner where you don't have to remove the bed or paint an entire panel. Now, on last week's episode, we repaired the rust on this Ford cab corner. I cut a patch out, we removed the rusty metal from the cab corner, and we found a bunch of rust inside the rocker. So what we did is we treated those with 3 different components. We welded the patch back in, we ground it clean, and then we filled it with some fiberglass filler and got it into primer. And today, we're gonna block sand this primer and then get it painted and cleared. Let's dig in and get started. When we primered this cab corner, we taped off a hard line so we wouldn't get any overspray between the cab and inside the bed. So we need to sand that smooth and get that flattened out so it doesn't show up in our paint and clear. We also have some body lines that we need to be aware of. It's got a nice roll in that cab, and then it's got a body line that goes straight down the center. So I'm going to use this soft block with some 320 grit sandpaper. And first of all, I'm going to sand the flat portion of this cab corner and get that flattened out while I maintain the body line here. This block will work nice to flex around the contours of this cab corner as I flatten and smooth this primer. The bodywork on this repair is nice and straight, so mainly what I'm doing with this block is I'm removing any texture in the primer. I'm looking for any scratches that I might have missed, and then I'm just putting a little bit of block on it to make sure everything's nice and straight. Now we need to sand inside this jam, clean it up, and smooth it out. Now we did do some body work in here, but I was careful not to allow the primer to get past this body line right here. And then later on in this video, I'll show you how we're going to get a nice soft edge in that jam so you can't tell it was painted. Now that I have the primer all sanded smooth, I'm going to go ahead and clean up the areas around that primer with a 320 grit scuff pad. This is just cleaning up any primer overspray. Now I switched over to the gray scuff pad. This is equivalent to like a 800 or 600 grit scratch. Now I'm going to use this to prepare the surface for our clear blend. This cab corner has some nice body lines just beyond the area that we're painting. So what we're going to do is we're going to scuff those with this gray scuff pad and get all the shine knocked off of those so it's a dull finish, and that's going to promote the adhesion and the blending process. But we're going to use those lines to create a soft edge of clear, and we'll talk about how we're going to tape it up here in a few minutes. Now that the cab corner is all ready to be painted, we're going to go ahead and clean it with some wax and grease remover. That'll remove any dust or any oils or contaminants that are on that panel. And now we need to tape it off, and we have a step that runs on the bottom of this rocker, so we've taped that completely off, and we're going to limit the amount of overspray that goes underneath the chassis by putting paper back on the rocker behind it. And we also need to limit the amount of overspray that goes in between the cab and the bed. So what I've done is I've wrapped tape, covered the entire bed on the inside, and then I'm going to create an angle that goes back behind that cab corner. So yes, we'll be able to paint and clear the cab corner, but there's not going to be a lot of overspray that goes past that. This foam tape is what we're going to use to create a soft edge of paint and clear coat so our repair is barely noticeable. Now, because we didn't put primer or sand inside the door jamb, we can go right along this body line. Now, this foam tape has a sticky edge, so we can stick it down right on the peak of that body line, and that'll create a soft edge of paint and clear. Now, the cab corner also has a soft body line that goes right through the center, and it doesn't wrap around to the back side. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow it on the front side and then loop it there so we don't have a hard edge of paint in the jamb. And this will create a soft edge of clear coat that's going to be barely noticeable after the repair is done, and it's going to save you a lot of time from painting an entire side or panel. Now, if you don't have a body line, you can still do a smart blend, and the way you would achieve that is you're going to paint 2 to 3 inches past where your primer is, and then you're going to clear 2 to 3 inches past where your paint is. So what you need to do is you need to prep out 4 to 5 inches above where your paint and clear coat are going to be with 1500 grit sandpaper, okay? And you'll do your clear blend right in that 1500 grit scratch, and that's going to help it to adhere, and then you can polish it out after you're done. Doing a smart blend might not be best for your situation. You just have to make that determination on your own. A smart blend will fail down the line, and the clear coat, it'll start peeling back a little bit, and you'll be able to see where that blend line is. So just keep that in mind. Just depends on your situation if that's how you want to go about it. I do plan on doing a full video on a smart blend, so keep an eye out for that. It is a useful skill to have. It's not perfect for every situation, but there are situations it comes in really handy. Now we're ready to mask this off for our paint and clear. We've got the perimeter masked off. I masked off between the cab and the bedside, and now we'll just mask off the outside. We've got the interior mask off, and I'm going to mask off that door, and then we're going to paint this with the door open, using reduced volume and reduced air pressure because we don't want a lot of overspray. The gun we're using today is a 3M performance gun with low volume. I've got my volume set at 1 turn out from closed, and I've got my fan pattern dialed all the way in. So it's a very precise fan pattern. And the first thing we're going to do is start spraying in between the cab and the bed and get that covered in there. Next, we'll cover the primer with our base coat. Now, this is a tri-stage finish, so it has a base coat, then we'll do a mid-coat pearl, and then we'll do the clear coat over top of that. Make sure we get everything covered in the jam portion of it. We'll put 2 to 3 coats of the base on. Make sure it's nice and covered, and then the mid-coat doesn't take as much. Typically, if you have to, you might have to do a spray out to determine how many coats of mid-coat you need to match the color. On this particular one, it's just 1 coat of the pearl. Now that we have our base on, we're going to move on to the mid coat, and for this particular color, it's just 1 coat of pearl, and then we can move on to the clear coat and take a look at the finished product. If you enjoy this content and find it helpful, you can support the channel by liking this video and commenting down below. And if you need any tools or products for your repair, check out my storefront link down in the description. Let's talk about the clear coat we're using today. The clear coat we're using is the TranStar Select Flash Clear Coat. I purchased this at O'Reilly's. This is a 30-minute clear coat that dries completely in 30 minutes, so it's perfect for this kind of repair. Small area. I don't want to get a lot of dust in it. I want it to dry quickly so we can get it out. So this clear coat mix is 4-to-1, 4 parts clear coat, 1 part activator. For the clear coat, I've opened up my fan pattern a little bit because I want a more uniform spray pattern. Now, you're just going to have to play around with your adjustments when you're painting something small like this. Adjust it to where you feel comfortable to control that clear coat and control that paint. So now that we have it all cleared, and this just takes 1 double coat of clear, I'm peeling back this soft edge of foam tape. We want to peel this back while it's still fresh, and that'll allow it to cure and not stick to any clear coat or anything like that. So there's just going to be a little line there where our body line is, and it's very fine. It's soft. It can easily be polished out. But this is a good way to do an easy repair or paint your cab corner. On next week's episode, we repair this rear end collision on this Honda Civic, and I'll show you exactly how you can do this at home. If you're new to the channel, give me a howdy down in the comments below. I appreciate each and every one of you watching. We'll see you next time on Garage Noise.